What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday to you. The show has been growing quite a bit as we're watching the demographics, so I don't feel that welcome people in Wisconsin super fits anymore. We are getting out of state, out of country, out of everything but out of control. We keep it on the tracks around here, right? That's how it rolls. Heather's here. Heather, thebomb.com. Saw you like 5 times in the last week. That was pretty dope. We got Sarah in the house. We got Danny here for Weedness Day. Heath, Sarah. Hey, guys. Thank you for stopping by. I am going to go back at some point and count what number episode we're on because I feel like that would be nice to know. Like, welcome to episode, I don't know. I feel like we're getting up there. I'm going to guess about 50-something, but we'll look into it. We'll figure it out. So super excited for tonight's show. Super excited about some of the events we've had over the course of the last 2 weeks and what we've got coming up. Before we get rolling, let's get our sponsor on board. Couldn't be doing this without the fine folks over at none other than Ignite Dispensary. Again, they're all across the state of Wisconsin. Their drinks are crazy awesome. Hopefully you get a chance to come out to one of the events where we have the plethora of a lineup, whether you're looking for like healthy, more healthy focused, more sweet focused, strain focused, pretty awesome stuff. And they're located all across the state. We got Mom in the house. What's up, Mama Beans? We got Mary. Hey, Mary, how's it going? Thanks for swinging by. We got Anna here. What's going on, Anna? Sarah. Oh, everybody. Holy cow. Thank you for coming out. I know we got lots of questions. Super excited for tonight's guest. Thankful for her time. Thankful for her being a part of the Great Midwest Hemp Fest. It was an honor to sit down with her and pick her brain there. And the fact that we got her on here as well. I mean, we're just really awesomely lucky, I guess. She's cool. That's another thing. So before we get into that real quick, just a reminder, this weekend, Nirvana from 1 to 4 going to be up there in Menominee. Please stop out. You can win a year's supply of grass clippings, right? Because Facebook, we're not going to do anything that would be illegal. So been mowing the lawn a lot, bagging it all. It's in the trailer. You can win a year's worth of grass up there this weekend. So we got Ashley in the house. Thanks for stopping by. We got Heather says those drinks screwed me up Saturday. I told you, man, they got to watch that. The Sensi that was. So, all right, let's get rolling into tonight's show. We've got Megan, the Canna Nurse. Megan, how is it going this evening?
Hi, Bobby. How are you?
Good. Long time no see. It's been almost just over a week. Good to see you. Again, really appreciate you stopping out and bringing the good knowledge to the people. I feel like especially in a state where it's not legal, there's very limited resources. And then as we all know, when you go to search something online, it really depends on what article you click on first or what view you want to have, because what the hell do you trust out there? And actually, that's going to be one of the questions I have for you. I do have some questions that come to us from the Central Michigan University. Has some really cool folks in the medical field, professors that shout out to mother-in-law who has some ties and gathered up a few questions. So I have those for fillers when the people aren't asking some questions, some stuff that I think you'd really be able to just bring a light on, again, our darkness over here in Wisconsin. But before I keep yapping, Megan, can you just explain a little bit of your story, where you're from, and what got you to where you are today, and maybe what your first experience with cannabis was, and when you knew it was going to be more than just your personal pleasure, if you will.
Right. Absolutely. First, I upload the background. Is it reversed or is it okay?
Nope, you're good.
I'm good. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep,
I'm always good about that.
You're good.
Yeah. So my phone is buzzing. Sorry about that.
You're good.
So I am a registered nurse, and I worked at the bedside for 10 years or so. Cannabis was never on my radar. I was taught all of the lies about cannabis, that it, was this bad drug and has addiction and all of that stuff. And I had to pee in a cup every 3 months. So it just never, and I didn't have a chronic illness. So it just wasn't on my radar. However, a couple of years ago, I started seeing some of the headlines, and I was a hospice nurse, and I had this patient who was having seizures, and she was on 5 or 6 different seizure medications and continued to have seizures. And I had read the headlines that CBD and cannabis was supposed to help, but I had no idea where to start. So and I had I didn't know who to ask. There was no medical professional that I could find that knew the cannabis side and the medical side.
Sure.
So I fortunately I found somebody who helped me, and we started her on something, and right away her seizures like tamed down. Like, of course, she wasn't
Awesome.
cured. She was in a
Sure.
hospice. But she like her quality of life was improved, and her seizures quieted down so much. And then like all of these other issues started resolving for her too. So that's when I was like, oh my gosh, there's like
Something.
there's somebody who needs to help guide these patients on the medicinal use of cannabis. And if I have a hard time finding somebody, I can't imagine like a 65-year-old patient trying to find somebody or knowing what to get when you walk into a dispensary because there's so much stuff and it's really overwhelming. It's an entirely new language. So, so that's when I got my start 2.5 years ago. I started the business. I jumped in the deep end and started learning everything I could and started going to conferences. I started a graduate program. I now have a master's degree in medical cannabis therapeutics. And along the way, we have helped thousands and thousands of patients get relief with both cannabis and psychedelics now.
Sure. All kind of across the board.
Yeah.
There was well, shoot, there's so much that we could touch on. I'm excited. I got to calm down, Bobby Beans. Uh, we've got Hank stop by. We got a lot of people saying thanking you for joining us tonight, Megan. Sarah said you were amazing. I enjoyed talking to you. Recommend you to several folks I know. We appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Hank said, "What up, everyone? Legalize the weed. I live 30 minutes from Madison. Let's get it done, Hank. We're all in this together." I think one of the first things I would like to touch on would be a question that we had from folks on the post that we put out, asking them to leave any questions they may have. And if my page doesn't, whoa, okay. Hopefully, you guys still see me, right? Yeah, there we go. What the hell? Sorry about that. All right, we've got. Here we go. What are some of the things that can help minimize the anxiety I get from utilizing cannabis? I know there's been some talk about potentially CBD kind of being a good counteractor, but then I also thought I just saw something that maybe it wasn't. What is your hands-on experience with people who can get some anxiousness from using cannabis?
Right. So this is like an interesting phenomenon with cannabis that it can relieve anxiety and cause anxiety. And that's because of its interaction with our GABA and glutamate neurotransmitter systems. It's like, it's pretty complex. I'm not going to dive too deep into that.
Sure.
But if THC is causing anxiety, that's the medicine speaking to you and saying, like, if it's causing an issue, maybe we need to not use as much. I think
Is it typically the THC that causes that?
usually it's the THC, and it's because the THC turns down our calming neurotransmitters, um, as well as our excitatory neurotransmitters. So if it's just this balance, and we see a lot of times chronic users tend to THC can sometimes cause anxiety. So if that's the case, then I think we need to decrease our THC use and maybe add in CBD or CBG. CBG is phenomenal, and so few people know about CBG. What I love about CBG is that it acts on receptors involved in our fight or flight response. So CBG really helps with the physical symptoms of anxiety. So if THC is causing anxiety, then we need to listen to the plant. What is the plant telling us? And maybe we need to switch it up or decrease the THC use, especially if it's coming from concentrates. I'm not a huge proponent of concentrates. So
Roger that. And I think a lot of it too can come down to, well, like CBG. I feel like CBG is a newer cannabinoid discovery, and it's really staying up to date with the plant and staying up to date with the information that's coming out. Because as we know, the plant is so diverse and everybody's different. It really kind of stinks that there's not a way to. I feel like the legit way to kind of help somebody find the best fit with the plant would be like a week-long experience with somebody like you, who is verifying what we think we're feeling, what we, the science behind it. And then also just like, okay, to up the, Megan, what should I up it to? Or, okay, do I need to take it back on the seat? Because ideally, I think everyone's formula of perfection would be, mine might be 40% CBG, 12% THC, 16% CBD, so I think we kind of got a ways to go on that front, but that's where I think patience is key in a lot of situations to kind of find your spot and find your comfort.
Right. Yeah, and it's a matter of finding what works for you, and that's going to depend, on a woman's menstrual cycle. The estrogen can impact how we react to THC throughout our menstrual cycle. So we may be more sensitive to it in one part of our cycle than the other. And I can't remember exactly which part of the cycle. I would have to go back in the research, but that does impact it. And then some days we're more stressed than other days. So it's just a matter of knowing how it reacts to us and finding the best thing that works for us.
Sure. Mohican says CBD calms anxiety from THC for him. I know some people it does for sure. So again, it's kind of one of those things that I would try in a safe setting. Obviously, don't be like, oh, let's set a world record for the biggest gummy I take because I got CBD and it should work.
Yeah, just do that.
Smart about it. Let's be adults about it. Heather has a question. She says, have you had any women that say cannabis helps hot flashes? I conducted a little study. I have 5 women that it seems to help reduce them a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And here's why. Okay, if we think of THC overall and its action on our CB1, CB2 receptors, it turns the volume down on the neurotransmitters that release. So it turns the volume down on a lot of things. It turns the volume down on saliva production, which is why we get dry mouth. Turns the volume down on our full hormones, which is why we kind of have an endless stomach and with the munchies. And then it turns the volume down on our temperature, on our internal temperature, which is why THC can really help women with hot flashes, because it turns the volume down on our temperature. Cool. And interestingly, nobody has died from THC, but in mouse studies, this is the one way that they have actually killed mice, by inducing such severe hypothermia. With THC.
Okay. So it's not just the one.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I don't consume a ton of THC, but when I do and I go to bed, I have to put on my wool socks and, an extra layer when I go to sleep with THC on board.
That's understandable. And actually, I just, since we're kind of sharing a little stuff, I don't know if this is just me or maybe you can touch on this a little bit, but CBN is great for getting me to sleep. But I also, if I whatever, a lot of places you go, CBN, let's say it's 25 milligram, whatever, the typical, usually they don't have a bunch of different offerings, at least around here. It's just, you wanted some CBN sleep thing. It's 1 or 2 brands, but similar dosages. I usually have to cut those in half or I can't wake up. That's just, again, everybody's different, but is that something that can be a thing with CBN lane? You're talking, you go to bed hot, or you can go to bed warmer with THC. Is CBN, is that a thing too that, CBD, I feel like you can't, I'm sure you can take too much. I don't want to put that into the world, but typically if you did a dose of CBD and a little more, I feel like you're not I might've had too much CBD, but can that happen with CBG, CBN, a couple of these others that you're aware of?
It's really hard to take too much CBD. A lot of research studies for there was one done on tooth pain, CBD and tooth pain, and the participants are taking 700-800 milligrams of CBD.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And tolerating it just fine. CBG, about 100 milligrams of CBG is on the high end. Adverse effects of CBG, we kind of see some loose stools. It can help get things moving if we need. We need that support. Yeah. Okay, and cool. With CBN, what's interesting about CBN is in looking at the research studies, the research studies don't really support CBN for sleep. However, we see that in the real world. There was one study that compared 3 different doses of CBN to a low dose of melatonin. And it was 25 milligrams, 50 milligrams, 100 milligrams of CBN to melatonin, and they all performed the same in helping sleep. So
this is where you kind of brought up a really good point at HempFest, which is, especially with cannabis, and we're talking about how everybody is so different, that when they I'm assuming, and if I remember correctly, a legitimate medical study is a monstrosity of red tape and 100 boxes have to be checked to say, okay, this study's even legit in the medical field, where there's plenty of times where if we had 20 of us and we all tried CBN and it makes us all sleepy, that might not be, there might be not be a medical study to support that, but that's kind of where we're at right now as a society, is kind of like
The real
talk to your
world
peers
evidence.
and real world evidence. That was it. Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's really important. And that's what we did with our suppository study. We
touch on actually, hang on real quick with that, because
Okay.
that's going to be perfect for my medical question I have. Real quick, Heather says, thank you so much for explaining. I can now pass it along.
Yay.
Yes, very good. Kim says, Trusted Canna Nurse sells CBG oil. Oh, I didn't know that. Oil called Ease. Makes me just feel all is well, calming my body and mind. Might have to check that out.
Yeah,
What's the name of the...
It's called Ease.
And Ease, where can we find Ease?
That is at trustedcannanurse.com.
That's easy enough to spell, guys, but I know some of you consume early this late at night. So trustedcannanurse.com. I'm going to plug that into the comments for us real quick.
Oh, I can put that in the comments?
Yep.
Oh,
well,
I
don't
didn't
know
even
if you
see
can.
the comments till just now.
I'm supposed to be the one that's doing all the cool stuff here, Megan. Come on. You're the smarts. I'm the tech guy, which is scary. I have a lot of issues with podcasts very often. But Ashley, I missed your hello. I'm sorry. I try to say hi to everybody who says it. Real quick, we had a couple questions pop up. I want to touch on what we were just touching base with, which is going to tie into... Here we go, right here. This is from the friendly staff at the college over here in Michigan. I'm going to post it. Let's see if this pops up without taking up the whole screen. All right. She said, or they were asking, let's say there's a patient that comes in with an acute respiratory infection or has a chronic respiratory condition, and smoking any product, whether nicotine, cannabis, or vaping, is not recommended. What form other than inhaling will give equitable and consistent results for the patient's symptoms? And then is their reasoning, and that's their reason for using a cannabis product. And if I remember when she was explaining this to me, and I guess it would always depend too if we're even talking dispensary grade or making it at home. But she said a lot of people were having inconsistent results with edibles, was specifically where she was at when she had asked that.
Yeah. Okay. So for a respiratory infection or has a chronic respiratory condition. So first of all, seek medical advice. If it's an infection, then we may want some antibiotics on board.
Sure.
But interestingly, THC was used as a bronchodilator before we had albuterol, 100 years ago. So it can really help people with their symptoms of COPD. Of course, we don't want people inhaling anything that's not clean, right?
Sure.
So yes, what about a vaporizer? Yes, like a dry herb vaporizer. So make sure, please make sure that you are getting clean flower. Make sure you see the COA that it's clean, and then you can get a dry herb vaporizer. And a dry herb vaporizer is much different than smoking. Smoking combusts it, and then you're inhaling combusted materials. However, a dry herb vaporizer just heats the flower gently, and then you're inhaling. It's almost like the steam or the vapor from the flower. And that's the cleanest way to inhale. I think concentrates can be really rough on the lungs. Concentrates and dabs can be rough on the lungs. But, if we're going for respiratory symptoms, like a low dose THC with some pinene in it, if you can find some pinene, and then, using a dry herb vaporizer.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And then, because I don't know that this is necessarily, or maybe it is. I pardon my ignorance if so. What did you got? You had something with the suppositories and relief of some sort.
Everybody's favorite administration method.
Yeah, right.
So if people don't know what a suppository is, it's this. How would you even describe it? It's a method of administration where you're putting cannabis in your booty hole or your cootie hole.
Fair. I guess that is accurately describing without getting too detailed.
Right. So what we did was, and suppositories are great because they act like a topical for the area.
Sure.
For that area. So what we did was we wanted to see, keep jumping around. No, we wanted to see, there's no research on suppositories. There's such little research on suppositories. So we wanted to see if suppositories do indeed help with period pain. So we took 100 women, and we did this in partnership with More Better and the Canigma. And we had them fill out survey data on a baseline period. Then we sent them a box of our suppositories, and then they filled out the same questions with the use of our suppositories on their next cycle.
Okay.
And what we found was that 94% of women or the uses said that they helped with their period cramps and their period pain. 94%.
That's crazy.
Which
and that's
is
where again, there's not a study to be like, hey, this, so you can't just share it to your page and be like, hey, see, it's legit. That's where, again, this kind of word of mouth, and, you're kind of doing that hands-on, trying to help and figure this out as you go type thing. But, that's just awesome. That's exactly what we're just talking about, is kind of the way we are stuck in right now. So that's awesome. Is that a product that is available?
It is available. That is also on the website.
Oh,
you
awesome.
Go to trustedcannanurse.com and then buy CBD. And then, so all the categories are there. The Ease oil is in the CBD oils category, and then the suppositories are their own category.
Okay. Right on.
Yeah.
Very cool. We've got, we had a question that I had touched, so I'd hopefully see it when I come back. Oh, here we go. Anna was wondering if you had any suggestions for pancreas disease, and then divism. Not sure what that means.
I don't know enough about that to speak about it. I remember seeing in school that there was some evidence showing that, cannabis use is like correlated with pancreatitis. I don't know the mechanism of that. So sorry, I don't know.
No, that's fair. Hey, let's get one thing straight. You are badass and you know a lot of stuff, but I don't think anybody expects you to know everything. We gotta, we're growing this as we go type thing, for sure. So we'll definitely see if we can't find anything out on that. And we did also have a few other awesome folks like yourself at HempFest who we're going to have on too. So awesome. It's neat because everyone's kind of, it would only make sense that, you're not in the same building. So everyone's probably going to be checking into a few different things. So, and it's really how we have to handle it is just kind of what comes your way in your real life scenario. So, again, it's not like we have a curriculum out there necessarily to help us be innovative and find the way forward, but maybe one day. Mm-hmm. Going back to a question from our medical friends here, I would like to share this one. So cannabinoids, CBD, or cannabis, CBD, THC, hemp, Delta 8, indica, sativa, hybrid, tincture, flowers, gummies. So many terms. Is there a guide for healthcare providers that helps define the terms and differentiate between products? Like, how do they affect the body and how do they impact health with chronic use? Or is it like the urbandictionary.com?
Right. Yeah. And, like I said at the beginning, this is a completely new vocabulary. It's a new language. And let me think. I mean, one of my favorite places to learn when I first learned about this was healer.com. That's Dr. Dustin Sulek. Yeah, Leafly is a fantastic site. The Canigma is a good site, but they're closing down, unfortunately. Yeah, Leafly is really good. Healer.com is a fantastic place for medical professionals, or not even medical professionals, just like people who want to learn about this. They have a great course with modules and everything. That's where I started. And that's healer.com has fantastic education, and he gives webinars every month. He's a good friend of mine, and he speaks at all of the conferences. He's very
cool. I'm gonna have to make sure I follow. Do you know if he's on social too?
He has Instagram, healer. I think it's healer.com. He's not as active. He's not
on the socials or
He has a business page, but he's not too active. But he's a fantastic human.
Cool.
Green Flower Institute, awesome.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Green Flower. I think that's one thing I have to remember is not everyone is like social media is kind of the bane is good or bad. Oh man, I shouldn't have had that gummy. It's good or bad, bane, right? That's bad. So it's not that. Yeah, okay. Hey, just shut up, everybody. I can hear y'all making fun of Bobby Beans behind the scenes. But no, like social media is the key, because otherwise it's just me in the basement here in Green Bay where there's nobody talking about cannabis. So it's definitely my gig, but
and I live on social media as well, so I get it. And when people aren't on, I'm like, Wait, what?
Right? Right. What are you, busy being a doctor or something, dude? Like, come on, healer. Right on. Let's see if we had any other questions pop up in the comments here real quick. Otherwise, I know I've got a couple more over here. You guys are goofy. Here we go. We've got do you know, well, is this maybe would that kind of tie into she was also asking, are there resources available for healthcare workers to help guide patient care related to drug interactions or that kind of stuff? Cannabis for pain relief, using cannabis products for depression or anxiety. But again, I don't know that is there not that much published?
There is. So again, healer.com is a wonderful resource. Goldstein Wellness that's Bonnie Goldstein. She's a world-renowned pediatric cannabis physician. She just rebranded to Goldstein Wellness and offers tons of free education. I got my education at Pacific College, and that's where I got my master's degree. And they have a certificate program, like a 6-month, 8-credit certificate program, specifically for medical professionals to learn about cannabis.
Okay, so this is for medical professionals. That is awesome. Medical professionals. Making notes here quick.
Yep.
Excuse me. Let's see here. Tammy Joe has a question here. What do you know about the connection of THC use with gut motility? Anything there?
Yeah. So gut motility, what we have seen is that THC can slow gut motility. And there's a condition, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing. There's this condition called gastroparesis, which is slowed gut motility when our gut just isn't emptying. And, we're not sure if THC is causing gastroparesis. A lot of people with gastroparesis say that THC helps them with their gut motility. So that's kind of a hard thing. I think that if gut motility and moving everything through was not an issue prior to using THC, and then things slowed down with the use of THC, then THC could possibly be the cause of slowing our gut down. Gotcha. Which is not always what we want. And then sometimes we see that manifest as new heartburn in people. And sometimes that's caused by THC. So, and that is a whole, the whole THC with gut issues, that is a whole different thing, with CHS, sure. And we don't have to get into CHS. But if people have CHS, please check my bio. We are doing a CHS study.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep. We shared a link earlier, but definitely make sure you stay up to date on that for anyone that you know. Also, real quick, Christy says, so exciting to hear all the facts being in the nursing field prior to being a small business owner. I love educating my customers on all the benefits. That's awesome, Christy. Great to hear. I think Jonah has the comments of the night, or the vision of the night. He says, I hope to live long enough where you go to a doctor and walk out with a prescription with the exact strain and the exact dosage for your issue. That would be dope, literally and figuratively. Amazing.
Yes, and I can touch on that. And I think we are going to be a long, I don't know if that will ever happen. And here's why. So prescriptions typically require FDA approval. Sure. In order for a drug to go through the FDA approval process, first of all, the fee alone for a new drug through the FDA is $4 million.
Oh my God.
Just to submit it to the FDA. And then they may or may not say yes. So
wow.
That is big pharma money, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to see even Trulieve, they have money, but we're not going to see them submit, Purple Kush or something for FDA approval, because that's nobody's going to put money behind that unless they can patent it. And patenting a plant is really challenging because you have to make it consistent, right? And how consistent would the COA be from just one bud to the next, let alone one plant to the next, one season to the next? So FDA approval is going to be really challenging unless they isolate it and synthesize it in a lab. And then it's not going to be as effective as the whole plant itself.
Exactly. Like Tammy's saying, that's not necessarily what we want in the long run. But we get where it's going. It's just,
Yes.
we're almost going to have like, instead of the FDA, like the Cannabis Association
Right.
medication. Hey, there we go. Let's start that thing up.
Yes.
We'll get
And
some
I don't
doctors.
think
Hey, and guess what? Instead of charging you 4 million folks, we'll only charge you 2 million this week only. And we will definitely check out your product and verify or not verify it. Things like Marinol and Epidiolex are synthetic, correct?
Yep. Marinol is synthetic THC, and Epidiolex is actually plant-based CBD, but they have purified it. So yeah, they figured it out. That was, I think, GW, and they have that money to do that. But again, it has to be for a very specific condition. That's why Epidiolex is only for like 2 very, very rare forms of seizures, even though CBD is effective for many forms of seizures, because that's what it was tested for in the trials. And that's the FDA. And like Tammy just said, do we want the FDA regulating our plant medicine? I don't want them regulating mine.
Right.
I don't know about you.
No, we can do without for sure. Had another question over here real quick. Were you aware, Megan, of anything as far as research? Oh gosh, this can be a word I don't know. Is there any research regarding pharmacogenetics and cannabis products? Pharmacogenetics?
Pharmacogenetics.
There you go. Bingo.
Pharmacogenetics. Okay. Pharmacogenetics, that's like basically how like cannabis, if I'm remembering this correctly, how cannabinoids and cannabis interact and are metabolized in our body and how they're excreted. And we do have a lot of information on how that happens with THC and CBD, both smoked. There it is. Pharmacogenetics and cannabis. Yes. We have a lot of research on how CBD is metabolized and what CBD converts to and what THC converts to in the liver. THC, when we take an edible, it converts to a stronger form of THC called 11-hydroxy-THC. So we know that that doesn't happen with smoke or with inhaling. It happens a little bit with tinctures and sublingual. But yeah, we know what liver enzymes metabolize THC and CBD. I think there's lesser known about the minor cannabinoids, but we definitely know.
Which would make sense. Well, was it you or another lady who was at one of the panels about when the endocannabinoid system was when it was discovered, and then when it started getting put into textbooks, and how far along it's come over that time, which is not much. Was that
not much? Yes. It was. My understanding and my recollection is that like the early 90s is when we first kind of, found the ECS and I don't remember the
8, it looks like.
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s. I don't know when, the endocannabinoids and the receptors where those, but it has been, not much longer than I have been alive, that 30 years. And it has not yet made its way into textbooks, which is unfortunate. So doctors aren't learning about this. What's interesting is that I did a podcast yesterday with this holistic healers group. One of the guys is a massage therapist, and he said he learned about the ECS 20 years ago in massage therapy school.
Oh, really? No,
yeah.
That's crazy. One was it? Yeah, because isn't it even like only 9% of like textbooks bring up the ECS today? Like, there's only 9% that cover it, I believe, is what I had read somewhere.
Probably, yeah. It was never anything I learned about.
Right. Yes. It's like it takes a while for these textbooks to get updated, I guess, or there's big money involved, or who knows. Right on. We had Philip says, "Thank you for all you do." Hey, thanks to you too, Philip. He was out at HempFest as well. Great fella down there in the Madison area. Real quick, Tom says, "I have always had a problem with my hyperactivity." Hey, I know what that's like, Tom. And I always smoked and it helped me concentrate, but I'm now in probation and I'm not allowed to smoke. Is there something that will give me the same, or I'm assuming similar effect without making me have a dirty UA?
Yes, mushrooms.
Mushrooms. There you go. Obviously, we don't sell those or recommend you do anything
We'll
without checking
recommend
with
them, but
your
we have
regulatory agency.
educational programs
There you go. There
for
is stuff out there to check out. Do
yes.
you have some of that on your site or on your
We
pages?
do have some of that on my
Awesome.
site. So if there are any nurses here, we just launched a microdosing group just for nurses to recover from nurse burnout. And then we have one-on-one programs as well.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Very
So
cool.
and that's something that's not tested for on a standard drug test.
Good
So,
to know. Tammy Joe brought up a quick thing here. It looks like an area chiropractor near me keeps telling people to use CBD. They come to me and have no idea they shouldn't because they're on medications that they shouldn't mix with CBD. It frustrates me that chiropractors and doctors don't know about this grapefruit warning interaction. I could see that being
yeah. And I mean, with medication interactions, the way I practice is that there are no contraindications for CBD. There are things that we watch out for. We watch out for side effects. We may need to monitor some blood levels of certain medications, and we may need to time them appropriately. But we've never had a patient that was not able to use CBD because of the medications. Even if they come with a grapefruit warning, we monitor them and then we time it a couple hours apart.
right.
So,
Good deal. Seems like a good approach.
Brought up THCV for concentration focus. We also have THCV, full spectrum THCV. It's not synthetic like most of the THCV out there. So that's also on the site. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yes.
I had another question here real quick. I guess maybe you would know a little more about this question here. This is going to be one of the things that in the Wisconsin unregulated hemp market is, again, from my standpoint, where I got to, which was seeing how many people can find relief from the plant and trying to regulate and create safe access. One of the things that was a little scary for me with the industry here in Wisconsin, which is again unregulated, is anybody, you, I, our brother, sister, mother, whoever, can make products, right? And then they're labeled, and as long as the paper says it's legit, then it's considered legit, because I can't remember the last time I heard of any kind of agency testing any products or doing any kind of bus or THC. Like, it's just, I don't know really what's going on out there. But one of the concerns I had early on was, even if I did make it and I wanted it to be a 20 milligram edible and I wanted to label it and I wanted to show my customers the COA, and it was an actual legit COA, but you just send it out, and if it comes back at 15 milligrams or if it comes back at 40 milligrams, well, you just tweak your recipe and then you send it out again. And like, that's not the most expensive for sure. But also just like, again, we're looking for quality and strength. And we talk about all the differences this plant has and how it can affect you so differently. Now, if you were to throw in the fact that, you know, your dosages on what you're consuming could be all over the place. Is there, what do you know as far as cannabis products being monitored for quality, strength, etc.? Is it just you send them out with your COA, and as long as they come back, and then they do random checks on it type thing? Or do you know of any other agency out there that is like trying to hold any kind of standards?
Right. And that's the thing. There is like very little regulation of that. And that's where I can see a benefit of having government oversight, so that they set some standards so that we know we're getting safe product. And, you know, and COAs can be doctored and they can be like adjusted by people, which is like such a terrible thing. And I forgot where I was going.
Trying to find consistency.
COA quality product. Yeah. And you know, how we do it with our COAs is like we will create the label based on how it tests. Sure. So we know like so what is on the label, that's why it's going to be some random ass milligrams, like 12 milligrams or 16 milligrams, because like that's what it tested out as. That makes sense. Yeah. And
as opposed to, I feel like there's a lot of cookie colored numbers out there. Everything's 5 milligrams, 20 milligrams.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Hemp Authority, but not everybody like goes at that. Sure. So yeah, it's it is the Wild West, 100%. Right. And I think that the FDA has some regulations on like supplements, and if there was just some of that, so that we know we're getting clean product, because there are a lot of like cannabis bros and hemp bros that will like mix some shit up in their basement. And that's where we get like, the Delta 8 and the HHC. That's not real cannabis. That's not natural. And then there are leftover byproducts that have never been tested on humans. So there's an issue there. We just want clean, safe, natural medicine.
I'd agree with that. Real quick, we had 2 questions I saw pop up. Megan says, was wondering if you, Megan, know anything about how cannabis helps with fibromyalgia. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So unlike so many pain meds, we can just touch on opioids. And so opioids work on our opioid receptors, and that works just by blocking the pain signal from going to the brain. So, you chop off an arm or get a cut or something, and then you take an opioid, it's going to trick your brain into thinking there's no pain there, right? Which is fantastic when you're coming out of the OR or when you just chopped your hand off. Like, we want that because we want to trick our brain into thinking there's no pain. However, with fibromyalgia, that's like a chronic inflammatory condition. Opioids aren't going to work for that. I mean, I guess they'll work for some people, not long term. So cannabis works by suppressing the inflammation that's causing that pain. And it can also help us change the perception of our pain. That, maybe the pain is still there, but it's not bothering us as much. And I think that's a cool. huge part of it. Yeah, it just changes our perception of pain. So cannabis, and also like we have seen amazing benefits with mushrooms and fibromyalgia pain for those who can't take can't take cannabis.
Gotcha. Cindy was asking, is Delta 8 best for arthritis?
I have some personal feelings on Delta 8. And so if people don't know where Delta 8 comes from, Delta 8 is naturally occurring cannabinoid from the plant, but not in high enough amounts to make a product. So what they do is they take CBD, they bathe it in some form of acid. Sometimes I think hydrochloric acid is one of those. And then if we're lucky, they clean the solvent off of the final product. And then you have Delta 8. And that process, that conversion process, that's not regulated. So it could be some hemp bros making it in their basement, and then we're left with all of these byproducts that we don't know what's in there. They're not tested for. So I am largely against Delta 8 until it's regulated. So for arthritis, what I recommend is a whole plant, full spectrum, high CBD product to start that has high CBD, low THC. And then if people need a little bit more THC, then yes, that's exactly why you got a headache. Then we can slowly add in some more THC. But
real quick, what's your I feel like CBD's been definitely evolving our understanding on it and like the dosing of it. What's your recommendation for people that are first trying CBD? Because I know like when it first came out, I think there was only like 5 to 10 milligrams, but just like, let's just say somebody's listening tonight, they're going to try CBD. I feel like it's definitely not just like you try it one day and it should feel good the next time, right? Like what have you found for that, Megan? Just curious.
Yeah, with CBD. So first of all, a whole plant, full spectrum CBD product is going to give you your best results. One that has some terpenes in it. And that's what we have on our website is the whole plant, full spectrum oil. Like a 5 to 10 milligram CBD gummy, not going to do a whole lot for you, especially if it's only got CBD and nothing else in it. Like you want the full spectrum oil. And this brings me to a great point about Gilbert Brown. So I started working with Gilbert Brown from the Green Bay Packers about a year ago. And he has, post-concussive syndrome from, all his hits on the field. And then he also has chronic pain. And so I sent him 2 of our tinctures, and he was taking it consistently twice a day. And then we were slowly going up on the dose. It wasn't until about a week and a half of taking those tinctures that he really started to notice a difference. Like he was able to put his shoes on much easier and tie his shoes. He would go for long drives. He drives from Michigan to Wisconsin for the games, and his legs would get swollen, and they weren't getting swollen anymore. So it really is consistent use over time of a high quality CBD that yields the best results.
Awesome. Good deal. Yeah, you got to take your time. This question comes from our medical friends as well. So we're going to paste that here. And I think you might have touched on this, or somebody again at one of the panels that they flew by, and I was taking in so much. I apologize if I don't remember exactly who was talking about it. But how might cannabis interact with sedation, such as for surgery?
Great question. This is why we need to be honest with
Yes.
our anesthesiologist during surgery. And what they have found is that cannabis users tend to need a bit more sedation during a procedure. And I think they also found that we need more pain meds or stronger pain meds post-op. Okay. So that's why we have to be honest with them about our cannabis use during surgery.
Can we be honest with our doctors right now? Do you know, as far as like, is there any kind of labeling still going on that you're aware of?
Of course, yeah, there's labeling, and I'm sure there's a lot going on in Wisconsin. In California, it is illegal to fire patients just because of their cannabis use. Like in pain clinics, I know that's a huge thing. They make patients sign contracts, which is bullshit, that they're not going to use cannabis, even though opioids and cannabis work so well together. It's like magic together. But yeah, it depends on your doctor. You can always ask what your doctor thinks about CBD, and just kind of gauge it from there and go with your gut. If your gut tells you to be honest, then open up the conversation.
Let them know. But definitely, it sounds like the anesthesiologist, because they're probably not going to care.
Yeah, they're not going to fire you.
Right.
They're going to know, and hopefully it's an educated anesthesiologist that has read those updated guidelines.
Sure. Shout out to the I love that word, anesthesiologist that helped my wife bring the baby into the world. That was a big help. So, let's see here. So we got that question checked. Awesome. Carol was wondering, do you know if cannabis can help with foot neuropathy pain?
Yeah. So with neuropathy and nerve pain, THC is really the magic cannabinoid that helps most people. Depending on how close the nerve pain is to the surface of the skin, a topical can work. We have an amazing topical with CBD and CBG and like cooling terpenes like menthol, natural menthol, that can help people with neuropathy if the pain is close enough to the surface. If not, then taking some internal THC, such as like a low dose gummy. We had somebody, like an elderly woman with shingles pain, and she just took one of our low dose gummy that's 3 milligrams of THC, 15 of CBD, and that helped her sleep through the night through her shingles pain. Yeah, that was great.
Cool. Good to know. Appreciate the insight. Heather has a question. This is going to be a doozy.
Let's hear it.
Come on, Heather, type it up. She's probably going to write us an essay. No, Heather's awesome. They're going to help me learn how to do. We're going to try a hydro grow. Looking forward to that. Sounds like they've got it dialed in with the nutrients and everything. Looking forward to trying that. Been rocking the living soil over here, but always wanting to learn more, especially if you seem to know what you're doing. So Heather says, my husband and I get headaches as we ingest Delta or THCA. So products here in Wisconsin. Okay.
Yes.
I think she's still typing.
Okay.
Tammy says, remember, it may help. We can't make any medical claims at all. Correct. Yes.
Right. Well, we do. I mean, there is evidence showing that THC helps with nerve pain. And we have, and we do have patient reports of that. So that's what, out of all the cannabinoids, that's the one that has the best chance of helping people.
There we go. Right on. Yes. So yeah, Heather says, really, unless it's straight flower, they seem to get headaches. Is that, have you heard anything?
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about, like the Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, that's all like made the same way, that chemical conversion. I'm not surprised that people are getting headaches from that. THCA, that's regular weed. THCA is regular weed grown in California. Like you take California dispensary weed and then you slap THCA on it, and that's THCA. However, people could be getting a headache because that market is so unregulated, and it could be pesticides or chemicals sprayed on it.
Sure. So that's fair. Well, and that's definitely where that market seems to be now, that THCA. I was in a dispensary here in Wisconsin that was selling THCA when it first came out, and we were actually getting, it was CBD flower, and then they were putting crystals of THCA in it. It looked like little things of salt. So yeah, it's just, you gotta, and I don't think anyone sells anything on purpose to that might be, not super legit. Like, the people didn't even know that that's what they ordered. Like, just it doesn't hurt to double check, which is really hard, because where do you say, hey, is my weed good? Like, you don't just go ask your neighbor and he's got a lab.
Right.
So you got to really kind of do your homework, and when you find something, try to stick with it, that kind of thing. This was awesome. Thank you very much for joining me. I don't want to go into past the hour, because I super respect your time doing this, and hopefully we can do something again someday, because this is very awesome. I do want to put you on the spot, Megan, real quick. I'll make you a deal, and we got watching, so you can't back out on this. I will send you a Let's Legalize shirt, which I totally should have gave you when I saw you, because that would have just been easier. But I will send you a shirt, but you got to rep the shirt for a picture, and you got to send me one of your products to give. Either I'll try it or give away to one of our people with some ailments to try as well. Do a little cross promoting. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Because you're actually, I can't remember if you touched on the beginning, but you have ties to Wisconsin, right?
Do have ties to Wisconsin. I grew up in Rhinelander, and then I went to school in Madison at UW.
Okay, right on. Cool. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming out. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for, again, that's what's so cool, is we are not just a bunch of folks like, hey, we want to get high. We legit have these questions. To any politicians out there that are tuning in tonight and like, we don't need weed, it's terrible. Like, we just want to help people, man. We enjoy it. It relaxes us, doesn't get us all wound up like alcohol. Yeah, we all get it that are here, but just a reminder to those other folks that tune in from time to time. I think Heather wraps it up well. Thank you. It's great to talk to you again. I'm rolling one. I'll try samples. Megan says, thank you for answering my questions. Thanks for bringing them to the show, Megan. Carol says, thanks. Thanks all around, Megan. We'll let you get back to it. Hopefully you have a great evening, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
I'll say real quickly, like, if people are interested and want to work with us, like we have our entire product line that is available nationwide. Some gummies have like more of one thing than another, and those are available nationwide. And we offer free product guidance calls, so you guys can book a call and talk to a nurse, and we'll talk you through which of our products would be appropriate. Cool. We can also do custom formulations of the higher THC products if we need to, so that people have safe access to whole plant medicine. And then, people can just check the website, trustedcannanurse.com. You can work with us. We also offer full consultations and microdosing programs. And then follow me on social media, because that's where I put all of my content, and I get shadow banned as well. So, and we have nationwide. You don't have to be in California.
Awesome. Nationwide. And we'll make sure to, I've seen plenty of great stuff coming across your socials that we'll be sharing on the page as well, but definitely make sure you follow her on those socials as well, so you can stay up to date, because I miss shit. Let's just be honest. So, all right. Everyone have a great night. Thank you again, Megan. You're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. We love you. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Bobby Beans, we're out of here. We'll catch you next week. Adios.
Bye.